120 seconds. 110 seconds. 100 seconds. 90 seconds. 80 seconds. 70 seconds. 60 seconds. 50 seconds. 40 seconds. 30 seconds. 20 seconds. 10 seconds.
'My name's J.C. McCauley.
I'm Naisha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
All right, my friends, once again, it's indeed time to get our talk on. Morning Talk with me, your host, J. Stan McCauley, along with the champions of talk. This morning's talk champion in the house, none other than Cacique. Has been a long time since I had an opportunity to kick it with him. What's up there, my friend?
Morning, and to all our viewers and listeners. Yeah, it's been a couple weeks, Dan, and
Been a couple weeks.
Be honest with you, I missed it, man. And to my surprise, to my pleasant surprise, there's been people who stopped me in the street and asked me about the show, and even called. A couple of people called and say, "Hey, you guys haven't been on." So, yeah, we're back, guys. Let's get it in.
We're back. A lot going on in the city since we've been gone.
Plenty of stuff. Lots of action. Including last night, for our very own delight, the planning of the occupation took place at the Y last night. We'll talk about that. The planning, they put it right out there for us. So you can't say they didn't tell us. It's in full bloom right now. They're planning it right now. They're carrying out their plans from last night. But we have some answers.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We're going to have a lot of fun this morning. Oh, my gosh. Jeez whiz. We're going to have a lot of fun this morning. We have special guests joining us, the one and only man about town with a plan, master plan. Making news. I opened up my paper yesterday. Well, I don't open the paper because I get it online.
Oh, okay.
And so I open up the current app. Top front page, above the fold, under the banner. It don't get no better than that. That's
the top.
That's the top. The only thing
the
higher,
summit.
The only thing higher than that is when they put a special bulletin above the banner.
I never saw that before.
Or an insert. They have the insert where they give you the insert, which really like it's over now. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yet, this morning we have the pleasure and the honor of having one of our great leaders in our community who's always held it down and has been a force against white supremacy and racism, and a brother that when you say his name, he stands for justice. Brother Cornell, the minister, Cornell Lewis. Welcome, brother.
Thank you. I'd like to thank you and Stan for having me here today. I got up early to be here because I appreciate the opportunity to speak, and I have great respect for both of you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. So, Cornell, tell us a little bit about some of the stuff that you've been hearing from residents in the North End. In terms of, the crime and some of the things that are being proposed about it.
Well, the people in the North End are somewhat disturbed about the crime, the shootings, and the killings.
Absolutely.
And they are looking for solutions. And I was asked by a young lady named Tracy Funny and some other people to help put a plan together to combat the crime and the violence, especially around the Barber Street Unity Plaza area.
Okay.
And we did that, but to answer your question, people are frustrated. They don't see the police doing enough, and they don't see the city government doing enough. So they're going to do something that has always been done by the oppressed. They're going to take care of the issue themselves.
That's outstanding. That's outstanding. So, Cornell, before we get into this, I want to back up a little bit and talk about that meeting that took place last night at the Y, because I attended for the first hour I was there, but the meeting didn't get going till about 6:20, and I left at 7. But while I was there, I want to tell the audience what I seen, and I would like for you to to share your viewpoints on this. But what I seen last night, and I mean this, I wasn't kidding when I said they were planning the occupation, because what happens during times like this, they always think that more police is better. But I'm not anti-police. First of all, I think the police have a place, but I think that we have tried this over and over again, and never with any success that we can call sustainable. So what I seen last night were all the agencies, the FBI, the state police, the local police, the U.S. attorney, and the state's attorney. And now, from recent articles in the newspaper and, watching the news and stuff, these are all agencies that are under fire for having a campaign of hate against our community. And then they think they can come and tell us about hate. You know what I'm saying? So we need to open that up a little bit. We're opening it up for our audience, for our viewers and our listeners to call in and or write some comments and let us know how you feel about this. So what do you think, Brother Cornell?
Now, I didn't attend this event in Hartford at the YMCA on Albany Avenue.
Yes, sir.
It had to do with ending hate and violence in Hartford. Okay.
Yes.
So all of these agencies came together to address that.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I think, like you said, the police do have a place, for certain kinds of actions within the community. But from a historical perspective, these agencies that you talk about have always been diametrically opposed in some way to people of color and the oppressed. And it has been proven by the Department of Justice and other agencies that white supremacists and domestic terrorists have infiltrated a lot of the agencies like the ATF, the FBI, and the police departments. So I have a I have a hesitancy sometimes about embracing plans from these types of organizations. But I wasn't there, but I know every time something happens in terms of violence or killing, they want to bring more agencies into the mix and flood the community with that, with those resources. But the communities explain to me that they have their own plan. And they asked me to help them put together a plan to address the crime and the violence on Barber Street. I think that the oppressed need to do things for themselves. That's what I believe. They've always done it. And whenever people arm themselves in some way against despots or tyrants or people who are oppressors, they make change. The police and these other agencies can only do so much.
Yes.
But the community can do things other than what these official agencies can do, and they know the landscape better than these agencies.
Correct.
So
Correct.
That's kind of like what I think about that. And when the people on Barber Street asked the Self-Defense Brigade to put something together, I said, well, listen, if you get the people and you organize it, we'll support you. And within an hour and a half, they put a plan together to do some things in the North End and around Unity Plaza to take care of the elements that are causing people so much pain and grief. So that's how I would answer that initially.
That's an outstanding answer. My point in presenting it like that is that these are agencies that have had a campaign of terror against our communities, and then they hide and protect themselves. So I'm asking, what makes these agencies think that they're in any position to talk to the community about hate? The state police got over 200 officers implicated, including command staff, implicated in some scandal. Mm-hmm. The state attorney here, an African-American woman, is under fire by her white colleagues. Okay? And we know about Hartford, And so the legacy that Luke Bronin is leaving is this mess by not addressing the issue of Jason Thody earlier. People in Hartford don't believe we have strong leadership. That's why things are out of control. Mm-hmm. So, Brother Cornell, can you speak about that a little bit?
The people up at Unity Plaza and around the Barber Street area and in the North End expressed to me some of what you just said. They do not believe that there's strong leadership in the police department or at City Hall. And they believe that is why this situation has gotten out of control. If you read the Hartford Courant yesterday, the comments in there from people of color living in Hartford stated they don't have a belief in the police or the administration of Luke Bronin, the mayor. I didn't say it. The community is saying that.
The people have spoken, Cornell.
Yeah. And so they feel like something else has to be done. And I agree with them. And so they want to institute legal armed self-defense patrols. And we're going to help them establish that, because for the last 3.5 years, I have put together a coalition of gun groups, the John Brown Gun Club, the Huey P. Newton Gun Club, and other activists. And what we've done is we've disciplined ourselves, and we have accompanied protesters on marches and stood between them and white supremacists and domestic terrorists. We've never had a problem. We've never had to draw our guns out. We've never had to do anything except let the elements know that if you do something, we're going to defend ourselves. People have seen that, and they recognize that something has been implemented by the community that works.
Yes. And
they want us to help them implement something like that in Hartford. Now, it may have to be modified, because when we go out and we're helping people during social protest marches, it's a different dynamic. But what's happening in Hartford is no different actually than what's happening when we go out on these marches. We have an enemy that is diametrically opposed to people of color that have been outside the community that don't look like us, and we recognize them. But what they do is consistent with the historical analysis of oppression. They go in the community, they make it weaker and worse than what it was. Now, that's the enemy without. The enemy within look like us. They share cultural history. The skin color may be the same, but what they're doing is no different than what the people on the outside do.
Yes.
So we need to address that
internalized
also.
racism, brother.
Yeah, we need to address that also, and that's what the people ask us to do, because they have made a decision that what they're seeing us do outside in the suburbs and other places resonates and can be applied to Hartford. So we're going to try to help them work that out.
So you mentioned the self-defense brigade. Can you share with our listeners and our viewers what the self-defense brigade is, and how that came about, Brother Cornell?
The self-defense brigade came about a few years ago as a result of patrolling the community in Hartford. You was part of that.
Yes.
People like Francis Davila, Edwin Rosario, and other people helped put together a patrol in certain parts of Hartford to deal with the crime and the drugs.
Yeah, we stayed overnight in some places.
Yeah, we stayed overnight on Martha and Brook Street. We camped out on Garden Street and Vine. Vine and Albany.
Vine and Albany, yes.
Yeah, at the apartment complex. And so we put together something that would help the community, and it was quite successful. And from that, we started to see that self-help was important and that we could duplicate this in other places. And so fast forward a few years, the Self-Defense Brigade is now instituting patrols and other things, within the community and without, in the community to make it better. But we're using the same principle: discipline, leadership, and working as a single unit is what helps to mitigate some of these issues.
That's outstanding. Cornell, so when do you all plan to, to start this?
September the 2nd is when Tracy Funny and community members planned a rally in Hartford at Unity Plaza.
Okay.
Right after the rally, then they're going to have a spot picked out for us to patrol. And then we're going to get together with the community and figure out what spots they want us to patrol and when. If we do it in the daytime, that's one dynamic. If we do it at night, like you and I used to do,
yes,
and the other brothers,
yes,
or Martha and Brooks, then we got to have light and we got to have more people.
Yes.
Because it's a different situation.
And it's very dangerous.
It's very dangerous. And so the patrols, to answer your question, will take place right after the rally, and we'll see how it works. And let me just say this. For some time, people would not accept the concept of self-defense. They looked upon it as something that was not viable. But slowly but surely, we went out into the suburbs and other places, and people went with us on those marches and rallies, and they looked and they saw what we were doing. Now they have bought into it, and it is part of these marches and things, and patrols are part of the fabric of the activist community. We've had 2 legal armed marches in Hartford in the last 2 years down Albany Avenue. Legal gun owners, open carry, and people have accepted it. So now people have made that leap ideologically and theoretically and they're saying, you know what? This is something that might work. Let us embrace it. And that's what is meeting so much resistance in the community from the politicians, the power brokers, and
the law enforcement
because they want to keep control over the people and keep them, as my English teacher would say, in a somnolent state, a state of sleep. But now the people have started to awaken.
Yes.
And they're looking at what we're doing and they're saying, wait a minute, you tell us that this is not cool, but we see the results over here.
Yes.
So let us embrace it. And when they came to us and asked us, and you know me, I don't go anywhere unless I'm invited. Mm-hmm. When they asked us to come, that was a very defining and historical moment. The people woke up and they said, this is what we want to do, because all of that other stuff, the prayers, the marching, the vigils, the lighting the candles, that's not working. We need something that works. And let me just say this. As people of color, we are often called upon to ask other people for help. The police department, the Department of Justice. On Sunday, people even go to church and they look up in the sky and ask God to help us. For 500 years, and I've been trained as a theologian, for 500 years, black and brown people have been praying, looking for a deliverer. And the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob has always been depicted in the scriptures as answering the prayers of the oppressed. Well, we've been praying and we've been asking for help, and I'm looking up in the sky. I don't see nobody.
You may either have to find somebody else to pray to, or, well, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, man.
Well, I'm going to tell you plainly. If you're in a relationship and it ain't working, then you go elsewhere.
Yes.
Yes. And if the God that you're praying to has not delivered you from the mouth of the lion, like Daniel,
you need to throw him in
we
there.
need to go somewhere else and embrace another God. And that's a whole nother discussion.
Yes. So, Cornell, this whole thing about patrolling the community and things like that, that sounds like there's a large amount of risk. And I think that for me, I don't want y'all to come in like an occupying force either. So are members of the community going to be the ones who patrol, or are you bringing in people, or is it a mix?
It's going to be a mix.
Okay.
The people that we're going to bring in to blend in with the community
Yes.
have been doing this for several years.
Okay.
They're battle tested. They cover my back, and I cover their back. I trust them with my life, like I used to trust you and Francis Davila.
Yes, absolutely.
Trust you with my life.
Yes.
That means something. So we're going to bring in a mix of people that know what to do and people who are learning what to do. And so we're not coming in like an occupying force.
Yes.
We're coming in to respond to the needs and the requests of the people. And let me just say this. I saw on TV some people in the academic world and I heard people in the police union saying things like the theories of Cornell Lewis and the Self-Defense Brigade are fraught with danger. We don't want them to go off half-cocked, and do something foolish. Well, we've been facing white supremacy for 3.5 years, and we have not once acted out of character or done anything irrational. So we've had every right to.
Oh yeah. Let's just be clear about that.
Yeah, we have. And especially when the Proud Boys showed up about a year or so ago at the state capitol with that foolishness. But my point is this. It seems as if the government and the power brokers are trying to smear us as being people that might fly off the handle.
Yeah.
Or
vigilantes.
As one guy said, with a smirk on his face on TV, and we don't know what kind of training they've had, as if we are novices in this type of work.
Yeah, they think they're the only ones that know about this.
Yeah, and so we're not coming in like the Lone Ranger to save the day. We're coming in at the request of the community to work with the community, and it's going to be a blend. But we have to have people out there trained and with legal permits so that we have some type of security. We're not going to put any people in danger. If it gets hectic out there, then we know how to kind of like back off. We're not going to go chasing after anybody if something happens. We're going to, of course, let the police do their thing if something is happening. But we need to be armed legally, and we need to be out there with people who want to learn how to do this. And let me just say this. The patrols are not the only thing that we do.
Yes.
We train people in hand-to-hand combat, self-defense. All of the people that go out with us have been trained. Mm-hmm. We go up and down the state, from Hebron to Newington. Next month, we're in New Britain training a group of people. So all of the activists up and down the state are trained in the same tactics. So if we don't see each other for 10, 20, 30, or 40 days, when we get together, we know exactly what to do, and we're on the same page. So if it gets tight and we have to fight in close, people know what to do.
And Cornell, that's outstanding. And I just want to point out to our listeners and our viewers that what Brother Cornell is doing is something that is completely indigenous and Afrocentric, protecting our community. And I want to say this. I want people to listen. Brother Cornell and the Self-Defense Brigade are educating people in how to defend yourselves, your family, and your community. Please listen, folks. Take advantage. Come down. If you want to start something like this in your own community, in your own neighborhood, get a hold of Brother Cornell, and he'll make it happen. The Self-Defense Brigade is starting something in Unity Plaza on September 2nd, and folks who want to be involved, who want to take their community back and make it safe again, all you got to do is show up, get this little bit of education, and then put it into action. Brother Cornell, how do people get a hold of you?
They can get a hold of me on Facebook.
Okay.
And we're very selective about who we deal with.
Okay.
Since the story came out in the Hartford Courant and we were on the media talking about our plans for September 2nd and these legal armed patrols, there have been a number of people that have contacted me that I don't know who they are and I don't know what their agenda is. So we're very selective about who we let in.
Okay.
We don't want anybody going off doing something that we have to attend to. So we're selective about who we let in and who marches with us. But the number one thing that's very important is when we're out there on the Serengeti plain of social justice.
Yes.
And the lion is coming.
Yes.
Nobody should be thinking about anything except covering each other's back.
Absolutely.
Nobody with us, and we say it, don't run, don't show fear, stand and do what's necessary. We don't need emotion during a time of danger. We need execution. And by execution, I mean doing what you know how to do to protect the group and to get out of there if we need to. So you can get a hold of me on social media, and then we will have people contact you, and we weed out those that are not serious.
Right. The people that are just playing games.
Yeah.
So once again, family, if you want to get a hold of Minister Cornell Lewis and the Self-Defense Brigade, reach out to him through Facebook or social media, and then somebody will get back to you.
Yeah, and we have, not only do I have a Facebook page, but we have a Self-Defense Brigade page.
Okay.
That people can go to.
Okay. So you heard it, family. There's a couple ways to get hold of Minister Cornell and the Self-Defense Brigade. We want to hear some calls or some comments. Stan, we getting anything?
Nothing in the chat. If you guys want to chat it up.
Yeah.
Drop into the chat either on Facebook or YouTube or Twitch.
I never heard of that one.
Oh yeah, Twitch, a big gaming platform, or LinkedIn or X, formerly known as Twitter. And so we'll take a short break. We'll be back. Special guest is Cornell Lewis, along with Cacique, myself, and you all. All right, stick and stay. Don't go anywhere. Morning Talk. We will be right back.
What a comment.
Yeah, it was great. Every bad political decision is made by a politician elected to office. So if you think your vote doesn't matter, just remember this. There are people sitting with politicians in a back room making deals about your future, making policies about your children, making decisions about your neighborhood. To them, you are just a vote. You are not their cause. You are just a vote. Elections have consequences, and if you don't vote, you are actually voting to keep these people in power to work against you. Now more than ever, you need to make your vote count. It's time to clear the air and vote for a mayor that is unbought, unbossed, trusted, and accountable to you, the constituent. My name is J. Stan McCauley, and I am an independent thinker, and I approve this message. I'm asking you for your vote for mayor of the city of Hartford. For more information, visit McCauleyformayor.com. Have the courage to vote your conscience and vote for the name you trust and know. Vote J. Stan McCauley for mayor.
Hi,
My name's J. Stan McCauley.
I'm Naisha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
All right. It's always the off-air conversation that you all don't hear. That's always the juiciest. I keep saying, stand by, we're going live. Stand by, stand by, stand by, stand by, stand by, stand by. Welcome back. It's Morning Talk. Jay Hogarth in the background. All right, I have to stop because, I'll get into a Jay Hogarth 1 hour dissertation about how great this guy is. And he's just great. And I get caught up in the music. Ear candy. All right, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back, welcome back. All right. Special guest joining us, of course, is Brother Cornell Lewis, and talking about self-defense brigade. And I was going to ask a question. What is the difference between self-defense and private security?
Well, it depends on how you define it. Historically, self-defense has been accepted by people who have limited resources and who seek to free themselves from tyranny or oppression. And we can trace it all the way back to ancient Rome. Plebes against patricians. We can trace it to Cuba, and the people who fought against Batista, to free themselves from oppression. If you want to go back and look at Jomo Kenyatta and the Mau Mau and other groups that fought against oppression, and of course slavery in this country, Herbert Aptheker, I think his name is, wrote a book, The History of Negro Slave Revolts, I think it is. And he documented people who were oppressed and enslaved forming self-defense in order to free themselves from oppression. Private, what did you call it?
Security.
Private security is something different. Private security is something that has been established to protect something that maybe somebody else owns. And I think it has very little to do with self-defense. Self-defense, to me, historically speaking, has a different connotation than private security. Private security means you got your Rolls Royce out there and you hire somebody to protect your car. That's
right.
private security.
So now, what about quote unquote high value personnel? You know, so and so wants to, you know, like the governor. The governor got security people.
How about
he not dependent on the police to
or
protect him.
how about the pastor or the minister of First Cathedral? I heard he got a bodyguard. That would be private security, right?
That would be what would they refer to that as? Force protection? What is that?
Well, if you believe the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob spoke the universe into existence, why do you need security?
That's always been my thing.
Your God is a mighty God, and you sing about him every Sunday.
Right.
I mean, that's a lot of power. He owns all the cattle on 1,000 hills.
Don't start undressing people on this show, Cornell.
But still,
I can feel the clothes coming off right now. It's going to be like the emperor has no clothes.
Well, you know, we would get into a theological discussion here. However, I mean, you know, if you walk by faith, you walk by faith. I mean, you know, one can put 1,000 a flight, 10. So, I mean, you know, either you got some real security or you don't. So that's like a faith issue. But if you have people who hire someone to protect them, why can't the community engage a group of people to protect it? It would seem reasonable that this is the logical outcome of the system that is supposed to protect the community not doing so. And so in the last week or so, you've had 8 people, 9 shot, 8 died, and
more to come at the rate we're going.
Right. So if the community does not hear from elected officials, appointed officials, policymakers, whether they be on the city council, whether they be in the executive branch, in the mayor's office, whether it be the police chief, whether it be the state, it doesn't really matter who it is. The community feels as though they're being left in the wind. There's no. It's as though, like, do we matter? Do we care? You know, do you care about us? So what, I mean, just if you were in a position of power making all these big time decisions, it would seem to me that if you don't get your act together, someone else is going to come in.
Well, I think, Stan, I just want to make a quick comment here that the police and the government are going to oppose anything that makes it clear to the people that we really don't need them.
Yes.
Okay, so Brother Cornell.
That's the real problem because, to your point, Brother Luis and Stan, the issue is the people can and need to form something to protect themselves. They have the power to do it, and they need to do it. But see,
and they have a right.
Yeah, they're right. But to see the song that's being played by the Pied Piper is this: you need to follow behind us in terms of gun control. You need to follow behind us and letting us shape the narrative. See, when other people shape your narrative, then they have control. And part of the angst that's coming out of the community, City Hall, state government, the police union, and some of these neckbone munching, chitlin sucking Negro leaders in our community.
Get him, Cordell.
That are hollering so loudly against this is because
We're going to need some names behind that, too, in a minute.
Okay, people have decided to form their own agenda. And that's frightening, because once you look outside of what somebody has prescribed for you, then you can make a determination on how you want to live and how you want to die, if necessary, independent of people in city, state, or local government. So that is the problem. We do have the ability and we have the resources to put something together like this to protect ourselves. But see, it goes outside of the narrative that the power structure has laid down. Anybody who doesn't dance to their tune about gun control and other things, they say is persona non grata, you know? And that is why you have so many people hollering and screaming, because once the scales have been lifted by from your eyes, or been lifted from your thinking theoretically and ideologically, and you see a different light, then that light can lead you somewhere. It can lead you away from the people that have kept you in a state of, what did Lenin say, that religion and other things are the opium of the people? You know, once you throw off that opium, what other people are thinking, that ideological and theoretical opium, then they no longer have control. And there are people in this community, black and brown, that look like us, who make their living off of the power structure. They get their grants, they get their self-worth, their funding. They get called to all of these big events, and they stand there and they boviate and they dance and they whoop and they pray. And if people turn away from these people, then they don't have anywhere else to go. In the music industry, they call people like that Johnny One Note. Johnny One Note just know how to play one song. And if he can't play that, then he's lost. And some of these leaders that look like us, who are brown and black, they only know one note, the script that they've been given. And if people start playing different kinds of music, then they don't have any way of being fed or getting what they deem is necessary for them to exist. So they're part of the problem.
So it's fair to say that, you know, I always refer to Hartford as a plantation, with plantation governance model, and they are they're totally not free. They're part of the system that keeps the oppression going. Now I say it in terms of, we don't need to grow cotton because we are the cotton. And so they're profiting off of the poverty they should be trying to fight. But community self-policing, it's more than that, but I dwindle it down to these three: self-policing, self-educating, and self-sustaining. So you know,
there's a whole educational piece around self-defense. Historically, and people don't understand that. And see, when we were first brought to this country, people of color, we had one God, and that God was self-defense. From the time they brought us to New Amsterdam, that later became New York, to different places throughout the country, Nat Turner and his slave rebellion, Denmark Vesey,
yeah.
and his rebellion that never took place because it was betrayed.
The betrayal.
Yeah, and other places, including the one in New Orleans that almost prevented Napoleon from selling Louisiana to America.
Mm-hmm.
There was a slave revolt in New Orleans that was almost successful. Almost, but they made a calculated mistake. They killed everybody on the plantation, and when the boss man came in, they wounded him, and he ran in the swamps. They didn't send nobody to finish him off. And he made it out and warned everybody else. But they would have taken these slaves to New Orleans and probably delayed the purchase, if it would have ever happened, of Louisiana to the United States. So self-defense is something that has a historical base. Our first God was self-defense. Later, as we became incorporated into America, we accepted a worldview of another God that taught us different things. But for the first 350 years or so, self-defense was our God. Now, people might have prayed and did other things, but the history of oppression in this country shows that we had a God. We've gotten away from the God of self-defense and accepted other gods based on what other people want us to do to help them keep their hegemony. And they throw the people that help them, that look like us, crumbs and say, you need to be grateful for that.
So, brother, I just wonderful comments, Cornell. But I just want to add that self-defense is an individual or community is written right in the Constitution of this country, right? They're called militias. You know what I'm saying? And people have the right to form militias to defend themselves against the government if necessary. It's written in the Constitution, right? So it's been happening all along. But there's something else that I want to mention that's higher than the law, and that's universal law.
Okay.
Right? And the law of our ability to protect ourselves, self-defense for survival, that trumps any law, any man-made law, right? That's the law of nature. You know, we have the right, right, universally to protect ourselves from anything or anyone who may want to harm us. So I just want to put that out there. So I don't understand what the pushback is from the law enforcement and the politicians and other bureaucrats that hang on to this. Cornell, share with us some of the comments that you're hearing from the community about the pushback from politicians.
I heard this, and I'm not just saying this because I'm on this show.
No, share with us, brother.
The people in the Barber Street Unity Plaza area said to me, Cornell, all the mayoral candidates run around with their clipboards getting signatures. Not one of them have been down here. You know who they said was the only person that came down and showed any interest?
Who's
is
that?
Stan McCauley.
That's why he's going to be the mayor.
They said, Cornell, Stan McCauley is the only person that has come down here, and they have not seen any of the other mayoral candidates. Now, some of the pushback comes from the fact that I'm not open to discussion about this around foolishness. See, the problem has always been that the people in power want to talk about stuff ad nauseum and ad infinitum. And I won't do that. You know, I'll state what the agenda is. I'll say what we're going to do. And then I'm just going to do it whether you like it or not. So some of the pushback comes from the fact that I won't sit around and let people try to get cute linguistically and twist what I'm trying to say. Case in point.
Mental wrestling.
Yeah. Case in point. Somebody from the city council wanted to contact me and talk to me, and called a friend of mine and said, "Can I have Cornell's number?" And the person said no. And he said, "Why?" He said, "Because he's not going to entertain endless discussion, blah, 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 blah. He is trying to help the people." So some of the pushback comes from the fact that I'm not going to engage in those linguistic games that people want to play. Number two, I am a self-actualized person.
Speak on it, brother.
And I am what my English teacher would call a sentient human being. The philosopher Descartes said, "I think, therefore I am."
Right.
And so I'm not going to, as Shakespeare would say, suffer fools gladly. You know, I'm going to do what is necessary for the people and for myself, which is put forth an agenda. So a lot of the pushback comes from that. And the other piece of that is pushback comes from the fact that you have people who want to be seen as leaders. But if you help the people and it's sincere, you don't have to elevate yourself. The people will do it.
Yes.
They will elevate you.
I agree.
And your name will always be on their lips. And so we have some people who want to be seen as leaders, but they're not equipped to be leaders. Because in a war, some people lead and some people follow. And somebody has to give directions and orders, but everybody wants to be in the limelight. So that's why I'm getting some of the pushback. And lastly, I think the real reason, or the main reason I'm getting a lot of pushback is, I'll be quite honest, a lot of the people I encounter in the community who say they're leaders, I just don't respect them. I'm not going to say it, but when I look at them, I don't respect them because what they have allowed to be done to our people is criminal.
So let's get down to the cases then. Let's name some of these people who are collaborators, supporters of white supremacy and racism. Can we name some of them?
The one that comes to mind that people keep talking about, or not the only one, but there are people on the city council that I don't want to butcher their names. But the one
we'll help you out.
Okay.
You say it. If we know who it is, we'll say it. I'll say it. I don't care.
Okay. One of the people that in the organization that people keep talking about and is the NAACP of Hartford and
Corey Beckett
of the state of Connecticut.
Is that his name?
Was Corey Betts.
Oh, Corey Betts.
Yeah.
Okay, he's the president.
And Scott X. Esdale.
Oh, yeah, Scott from New Haven.
Yeah. Now, there have been activists as recently as 2 days ago that have said that the NAACP and these two leaders are not helping the people. As a matter of fact, Tracy Funny put together a plan with community members about this September 2nd rally, went down the plaza and saw the NAACP there doing something, informed them that we were having a rally and invited them to come to the rally. Within 48 hours, the Hartford NAACP, with the blessing of the state NAACP, put together an event in the parking lot of Unity Plaza based on the idea and the concepts of Tracy Funny and the members of the community. They did not invite the community. They did not tell them they were going to do it. They took our talking points and put it in their agenda. They even have 3 time slots that they're going to be out there at Unity Plaza on Wednesday And that came, Louis, from the stuff that we did
Right, back in the day.
that we put together, that I informed Tracy that she could do if she wanted to
Yeah.
with her people.
Yeah.
And when she told them, within 48 hours, they were there in the parking lot with, quote, their agenda. So the NAACP is one group. And then
Stealing folks' ideas.
it's called, if you want to be gentle, misappropriation
Yes.
of people's intellectual property.
Yes.
But as the brothers would say, the sucker done stole.
Yes.
That's what he did. He done stole it. And so that's one organization. The other one is Mothers United Against Violence. Now, I don't think it's all of these people that's involved in that.
Just a couple.
But the Reverend Henry Brown, you
Okay.
understand? He is one of the people, that seems to be against this rally. And he seems to be against armed security for self-defense. And the only thing I can think of is that the people have not invited him to this. They have not invited him to speak. They said they don't want him there. I didn't say this. So he seems to have his underwear in a bunch
Oh boy.
about this. And he's even, from what I understand, went to have a press conference to denounce it. Now I'm not saying anything behind his back that I haven't said to his face.
I get that.
You understand? So for him to come out and somehow or another try to denounce this, and the NAACP and Corey Betts and Scott X. Esdale, come out and try to subvert what the people are trying to do, is an abomination. That is why I don't respect people like that, and that's why I'm getting all of this pushback, because you cannot respect people who do this and undermine the wishes of the people who are suffering, while you lay back and get accolades and money, and in the case of Mothers United Against Violence, get a $300,000 grant or money from the city saying what a great job you're doing, and then you get what they call the big head, and you think you're more than what you are. No, you're just a cipher, a player in the agenda of the white establishment. You're tap dancing like Sammy Davis Jr. and Bojangles Robinson, and you're smiling like Sammy Sunshine and Buckwheat.
Brother Cornell, I love it, man. So listen, I refer to some of these people as the the black person or brown person that they call when the natives are off the reservation. Who is that guy right now here? There was a time when my boy John Motley used to play that role quite well.
I think there are several people that play that role.
Let's hear some names. Come on. Because we need to expose them. I'm laughing because I'm happy that we're going to finally start exposing these people, and we want you out of our community. If you're collaborating with racists and white supremacists, pack your bags.
Well, the church, the black church in Hartford, is culpable in this because in theological school in the New Testament, I read that Jesus was sitting in a synagogue with the disciples, and there was a demon in the synagogue. Either the disciples couldn't see the demon or didn't want to deal with the demon, and Jesus got rid of the demon. We have religious leaders who see demons in the community, but they don't want to do anything about it because either they're afraid or they are getting something from the evil influence. And so we have to talk about the black church being complicit in what's going on. And so there are people that have contacted me and they want to talk in the religious community about what we plan to do. But I'm not engaging in any kind of conversation. The only thing I'm going to say to these people and to the power structure is this. We have an agenda. We're going to implement the agenda. And if you're not okay with that, then my motto is we're going to ram it down your throat, the agenda, and make you like it.
That's what's up. I like that a lot because we have to start getting rid of these collaborators. Now, here's a challenge. I don't know your names, and I don't need to know them. But the pastor or the minister of Phillips, First Cathedral, and all these other big churches, I don't know them, but I know there's plenty of them. Black and Spanish speaking. I'm challenging you right now. Have your Sunday service out in the street, in the community, in these hotspots. Let me hear you, okay? In the community. I want First Cathedral, I want you to have your service Sunday right in the middle of Barber Street, where a lot of that nonsense is and in any other place. There's plenty of churches, so pick a spot. Stop being cowards. You heard me. You're being cowards. Get involved. You get a lot of money from the community. Use your resources to help.
Well, one of the things that I've noticed is this. Members of the church will say, I got to pray on it and wait on the Lord to give me a message. Well, I think that's a cop-out.
Well, you just told everybody that they've been praying for 500 years. That is a big cop-out.
Yeah, and so
they ain't get an answer yet.
Yeah, and so you wait on the Lord, and that means you don't have to do anything.
Yes.
But see, if you read the scriptures correctly, then you see that Jesus was not only about talking, Jesus was about action.
He was a man of action.
He went out into the community and said, come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. And then he went up on the Sermon on the Mount, and he saw all the people. And Jesus did something to help the people. But now we have people suffering, as Shakespeare would say, suffering untold agonies in the community from violence, from oppression, and the churches sit back in their perfumed mausoleums, as Nietzsche would say, in Thus Spake Zarathustra, his classic philosophical work, and they are talking about the things of God while the people that they're supposed to be shepherding are suffering. That's criminal.
Yes.
And if there is a God, on the day that you take your domesticated, placated, miseducated butt up to the pearly gates, you might not get in. Because God might say, they were hungry, did you feed them? They needed a watchman on the tower to let them know when the enemy was coming. Did you do that? No, you were supping with the power elite, getting your crumbs, letting the people suffer. The wolf was in the pen with the sheep or the goats, and you did nothing. But there are people who actually have allowed this kind of stuff to happen because they are afraid. See, anytime you step out against power or against tyranny, you have to be ready for whatever happens. There's a price to be paid. Nobody historically has stepped out against evil or tyranny and not paid a price. Job, your life, your name, your education, whatever. All of that can be taken. But if you're dedicated and you're sincere, then you will go out there and they say, like the Bible wrote, like it says in the Bible, though he slay me, yet will I trust in him. You don't want to do that. You want to do things that allow you to advocate from where it's safe, where you don't get dirty. You don't want to go down in the well, in the mud, like Jeremiah when they lowered him down there, because he stood in the temple and denounced the leaders. You see? No, you don't want to do that. So people don't want to pay that price. But historically, men and women who have gone out and other people against tyranny or oppression, they've always had to pay a price. But the end game is that the people are freed and you get rid of the tyranny. But see, these religious leaders don't want to do that. They want to have their cake and ice cream and eat it too. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, the people are suffering. And when they contact people like the Self-Defense Brigade, the John Brown Gun Club, and the Huey P. Newton Gun Club and say, help us, and we say, okay, then the religious leaders want to get angry about it and call me. Can we come together in prayer and supplication and have a cup of coffee? Hell no.
Well, listen, respectfully to everybody, first of all, you and I can attest personally to that, because we have both been vilified and,
yes,
by the system, right? But here, I don't want to offend anybody, but to me, right now, at this very moment, it's still like a wonder to me how any black or brown person can talk about any European religion belief and be okay with it. They forgot about syncretism and all the things that happened and how that was the stuff that's happening today. Look at what happened to the, I said to Stan one time, if you're in any kind of religion that uses the Bible, if you're under the umbrella of the Catholic Church, you may not like it, you may not agree with it, but if you go back historically, where did your religion come from? So a lot of that is, we really have to delve into that to really figure out, what is our next move in terms of how do we move spiritually, not religiously. How do we move spiritually to our next level, of evolvement, because right now is rough, man. We've been lied to about everything. We make decisions based on misinformation and untruths, and then we want to be okay with that. You know what I'm saying? So that's a lot of stuff, man, that has to be unpacked. But let's go back to...
Whoa.
Yes, brother.
So the music was a break cue, so...
Okay.
We just take a short break and be back.
Okay.
But I like your challenge, so I hope people take you up on...
Oh, I want to see these churches get involved, because they can do good. I think they can do good if they get involved. Not from a distance. That's like the white support. White people want to support us their own way, but when it gets hot, they want to, and that's what the church is doing.
So hold these thoughts. We'll be right back. It's Morning Talk, and where we kick it. Don't go anywhere, my friends.
Harvard is run by the Democrat Party. It's a single-party town. And it would make no difference if it was a two-party town or if it was run by Republicans. All right? Anytime an organization runs a thing, the organization that manages or runs it wants to remain in power. When a political party runs the responsibility of governing your city, they're more concerned about remaining in power than they are concerned about providing needs for you, the constituent. It's your government, not the party's government. That's my only issue with the party. I'm a Democrat, all right? But I will never be embraced and accepted by the Democrat Party in theory, because I'm not towing the party line. You understand what I'm saying? So the party needs someone to run for mayor. The mayor is an instrument, and he is a component of the machine that is city government. But he's less accountable to you and more accountable to the party, and the party has an apparatus by which to hold him accountable. The town committee, all right? And then the chairman of the party for the local municipality, and then the chairman of the state, and then and on, and the president and all that other stuff. And so the state committees, all right? So they want to vet you. So you run for some local office first and see if you can be trusted, this, that, the third. Can you be trusted to lie, cheat, steal, put out lies, take in cash? Can you be trusted to do that? If you can't, then we can bring you in. All right? But we always got to hold you at bay because the power is tight. The power is like an aphrodisiac. People like it. It's worse than cocaine, right? They want the power. And once they get a taste of the power, they want to hold on to the power because the power is literally to give projects up or down. That's it, right? But the power is not meant for that. The power is there to manage the system on behalf of you all, the residents, okay? But when you as a constituent are not satisfied because there's people being murdered and it doesn't seem like anyone's giving it any attention, and you feel that your investigative agencies like the police department should be looking into these things, you then become a thorn in the side of the people who are supposed to be doing stuff. All right? Or you have a community review, like a civilian review board. And the civilian review board flags particular incidents that happen by police officers. But those incidents might be a liability to the city. So the city is crushing those things from going any further because if they do so, in theory, they'll expose themselves to a liability and they can be sued for millions of dollars. So they never sees the light of day. So you, the constituent, who's supposed to be in charge of all of this, are kept in the dark. There's no transparency because they don't want you to know what's going on with your government because it is a threat to their power. So if you want any of that to change, you need to elect somebody who you can hold accountable as opposed to the party installing someone who is beholden and accountable to them. This is not rocket science. Very simple. Very, very simple. Very simple. Don't let anyone tell you that you don't have the capacity to hold accountable your elected officials. They want you to think that way because then you accept the fact that you don't have accountability over them. But you didn't put them there. The party put them there. Understand? The party put them in office, not you. You think your votes put them there, but it didn't. It only takes 35 votes to get into the office of mayor. That's the town committee. If those 35 people come out and vote for them, they're in. They don't need you to come out. All right? And so you have the illusion of choice, the illusion of a modicum of control that you think you have, that you find that the rude awakening comes 3 weeks after they get in office. You get the old royal shadow. Because you didn't put them there. You understand? If you put them there, they would be beholden to you. If you put them there. As an elected representative of the people, you are beholden to the people, not the party. And that's why Hartford is in the shape it's in. Because your elected officials are beholden to the party.
Hi,
My name's J.C. McCauley.
I'm Naisha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
All right, my friends. Welcome back. Morning Talk. If you have any comments you would like to make, you could drop them in the chat. There is a comment. This is from Brother Chris Dukes. He said his decision to opt out of last night's event at the YMCA was based on the fact that the very agencies who collectively deny the hate within their system limit transparency in effort to conceal wrongdoings and crime and avoid accountability with both qualified and absolute immunity were at the helm.
Listen, and Chris, thank you for that incredible feedback. We agree. Well, I agree with you. You know what I'm saying? And this is the same thing that I was saying earlier in the show. All these agencies, the FBI, this is the closest the FBI has been in its history to being they're going to shut it down completely because they have committed so many crimes against the people of this country. Okay, the state police has over 200 officers that are being up, including like the union officers. They may be arrested and fired. Okay, and we know about the Hartford Police Department. Come on, man. And this is the legacy. Once again, family, this is the legacy that Luke Bronin is leaving for us. A city in complete and total chaos. And so, moving forward, I read an article this morning in the paper about the city council is looking into crime in the city. What is that all about? Did they just find out about it yesterday? That all this is going on? Brother Cornell, share some feedback with us about, how you are looking at what the city council is looking at crime in the city. What's that all about?
What are they looking at? That would be my
what
are they studying? Number one, I mean, we know what the problem is. So why are we studying something once again that is afflicting the city? It's clear that there's a lack of leadership. And when there's a lack of leadership in any community, whether it be a pack of wolves, a pack of dogs, lions, a pride, male lions, or human beings, then people seek to act out.
Yes.
When they feel there is no control. You can call it alpha male, alpha female. Let's call it, for lack of a better term, an alpha government, that responds to the people, when they need something, and also has a firm hand when crime comes about. So I don't know why they need yet another study to look at something that afflicts our city. I mean, and they're spending money, and what are they going to do after they get the report?
Well, to me, it's almost like an afterthought on their part that they are finally going to look into crime.
You're phrasing that as though it's a question instead of the statement that I think you're trying to make. It is an afterthought.
Well,
Okay.
That's what it seems like to me.
It don't seem like.
It is what
You
it
being
is.
facetious?
So it's an afterthought. It's almost like
Like they didn't know anything was going on until yesterday.
Well, I think they knew something was. I think they knew something was going on. I think the problem is that they weren't doing anything, and now everyone's being called to the carpet, and it's escalating. It's snowballing, because of the first of all, there shouldn't have been the first one, in terms of this series of killings. All right, the police department has very good intelligence. A lot of this stuff after the first one, they should have been able to, so there's a lot going on that isn't out and about. So the problem is one of accountability, which Brother Cornell clearly articulated and mentioned. There's no leadership.
Yes, in Hartford.
Period. There's just no leadership, because if there was leadership, stuff would be done. And bless city council people hearts. There's no leadership there. Because you call the people who are responsible for these things to give an account. Get down here. And then you got 10 minutes. I don't care where you are or what you're doing. You got 10 minutes, get down here. If you're not down here, I'll have the state sheriff pick you up and bring you here under order of council. I mean, make it happen. Give an account as to what's going on. You need more money. You need more resources. Let's get the community together, have a conversation. This, that, and the third is going to end in some sort of action. Now, then you have another one. 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 I mean, eight people, 8 homicides in 1 week. It's something you can't call an uptick. Something you can't
a shootout
say
on the highway.
We
stand.
have.
That was right out of a movie.
I mean,
We haven't even talked about that.
It's hard to sell a city that's on the uptick when the crime is on the highway in the middle of rush hour.
Well, the only thing that's on an uptick is crime.
unbelievable.
So they've lost control of the city. And in any normal setting, I don't care if you were a stellar police chief, the best in the land. With that kind of action, you're gone. You're gone.
Well,
Even if it's no consequence to you, something is wrong, and we need to demonstrate to the people that none of that happened. None of that happened. Then the community starts saying, you know what? Forget them.
That's what
Now
they're saying.
you start calling out. Now you start hearing rumblings. Oh, I think the community is upset. What do you mean you think the community is upset?
And then
now
you try to suppress that.
Right. And then we have individuals such as Brother Cornell doing what he has traditionally done forever and has a track record of success.
Absolutely.
No one's gotten harmed when he's doing what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And now all of a sudden we have a problem.
Now, let me just share something. Now, I don't want people to think that what we did in the past can work today. It might or maybe not. I don't know. But let me just tell people what happened when Brother Lewis, myself, Francis Davila, Edwin Rosario, and the Independentistas and the other brothers and sisters got together. Here's what we did. We found out who the criminals were committing the crimes in the North End. We went to them and talked to them and say, we want you to stop doing this, disrespecting the women, doing this, making the apartment complexes not safe for the kids to come out in the hallway and play. And if you don't do this, here's what we're going to do. They thought we were joking until Big Louie and some other people and I ran up in them apartment buildings on Vine and Albany Avenue and ran them out of there into the waiting arms of the hospitality crew who took them around back and had a slight discussion. Praise the Lord. Now, I don't know what happened back there because I didn't go. So I can't speak on it. But I know we didn't have no trouble after that. Mm-hmm. We took video footage of the drug dealers, documented the criminals, what time they came and what time they departed doing their activities. I got together with Brother Carl Hardrick, Andrew Woods, Big Louie, and the other brothers and sisters, Francis Davila and them, and we said, here's what you're doing. Here's the evidence. If it doesn't stop, then we're going to release this. And if you stop it, then we'll have jobs for you or employment where you can make money and you won't starve. But rest assured, if you don't do this, here's what's going to happen. And we told the people who were running these crews, if you didn't have anything to do with it, we're going to blame you for it. Mm. And we laid out all the pictures, Stan, and the video.
That's when the death threats started coming in.
And they started threatening me. But guess what?
Death threats, Stan.
But guess what? It had an effect.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
The crime started to diminish.
Dwindle, yes.
And then we said, Louis and I and other people went out to the suburbs with an arrest record of white folk. They got arrested for buying
drugs in our neighborhood.
Drugs in Nelton Court, wet at the time. We went to Avon. We went to Greenwich. We went to Torrington. Yeah. What are you doing out here? It stopped the flow of white suburban traffic.
It really did, Stan.
I remember this was in the news.
Into the city. Then we had urban, suburban dialogue forums out there. And I said, white folks in the suburbs have contributed to a criminal enterprise in Hartford, and so your fundio need to be up there on the marquee with ours.
Right.
Because we guilty, but you guilty too. Lo and behold, things started to happen. Now, they threatened me and all of that other stuff, but I kept doing what I was doing. But the point is, all of that had an effect. It was not conventional. Chris Morano, the state attorney at the time, said, Cornell, you can't do this. You got evidence. You got to give it to me. I said, I ain't got to give you nothing. We live in this community. We're going to do it our way. And we did it, and it helped the administration. I think Eddie Perez was in office at the time as mayor, and things seemed to decrease. The drug dealers and the criminals, they had their marching orders, and we patrolled the community, and they looked at us, and they saw us day and night. And then we walked the kids to school of the very people that we were fighting. And they acknowledged the fact, we don't like you, But we didn't think you would walk our kids to school. I say, we got a commitment. We don't like what you're doing, but we're going to take care of these kids.
Right.
It all changed the dynamic in Hartford. And see, that is what we did then. Will it be applicable now? I don't know. But the point is, we took bold, innovative steps outside of what is normally done, and it proved beneficial for 3 years. Crime was reduced. People were happy. We did things that other people couldn't do, and we didn't have to worry about this foolishness. But now people are afraid to go out and do something outside the box. So I'm not saying that what Louis and I and other people did in the 90s will have an effect today, but we had to do something. And we did. And once we showed people the evidence, we went to the North End Church of Christ, got a big flat screen TV, and had a gala with popcorn and everything, and showed all the hot spots where the drug dealers were on Barber Street in Cleveland, showed the stash house on Earl Street, you know, what time they came in the morning for the heroin dealers, what time they came in the afternoon for the cocaine dealers, and then where they went to re-up, which was on Earl Street. That was the stash house. All of that was shown, and the police and everybody else came and they looked. The drug dealers, they wanted to come in. I invited a couple of them in. I wanted them to see. They saw what was happening. They realized that they were dealing with full-grown adults, men and women, who had enough of their foolishness. And we weren't going to put up with it. But the good part about it was, once we put the clamps on them, once we curb stomped them, we had jobs. And we put them into gainful employment, even though they had threatened us and all of that other stuff. So my point is, you can do it if you have the will and you have a plan and you have people who are dedicated and willing to make some kind of sacrifice. But when these guys and women doing this stuff look out today, they see weak leadership. They see leadership with the courage of a hyena, the backbone of a jellyfish, and the emotional depth of SpongeBob SquarePants standing up there pontificating, and they say, man, they ain't about nothing. And they know it.
Right.
And that's the deal. You got to be really willing to do something to take back your community. Now, what that is, I'll leave that up to you, but I'm just talking about what we did that had an effect.
A positive effect.
A positive effect, and the people loved us. And we fed them, and after that, we had a food drive, and we fed people every week lunches on Albany and Vine Street, and then we delivered groceries to people every 2 weeks, you know, and people were grateful. So we had different components to go with what we were doing. It wasn't all the hammer.
Right.
And we told the guys, we love you, but we ain't putting up with that foolishness.
Right.
And once we get rid of that, you understand, and it will get you a job. But if you don't want to do it, you got to go. And we'll take care of your family while you doing your bit. And when you get out, we'll have something for you to do. And that's what we did.
Well, see, to me, this is community policing.
Well, Stan, before I forget, I have one more challenge. Okay, folks, please listen to me. This challenge is for Lion Luke Dronin. Okay? If you love our community, if you love Hartford, you will resign today. Okay? You have been an awful leader, and you have to accept that. It's not a terrible thing. You can learn. It's an experience. But you have to leave in order for our healing to begin. The sooner you leave and take all them other, you know, Jason Thody and all these other races with you, man. All right? That's a challenge. And that's from the community. Lion Luke, if you love our city, you will resign today.
All right. That's another Stick and stay. We will be right back. It's Morning Talk. The challenge, the second challenge there.
How do you define evil? Is evil the pedophile school administrator or taxation without representation? Is it the gatekeeping community leaders who sell out the very people they were elected to fight for? Or is evil the politician that puts out lies and takes in cash? However you may classify evil, having to choose the lesser of two evils still leaves you with evil. Nowhere does this rule apply more than during an election for mayor. Choosing a candidate who is the lesser of two evils still leaves you with evil. No wonder so many people don't vote. It's time for the constituents to flip the script and vote for a mayor you can trust. My name is J.C. McCauley. I am an independent thinker and I approve this message. I'm asking you for your vote for mayor for the city of Hartford. I, like you, am an independent thinker. So let's sit down and talk about my path to victory and why my plan for Hartford will work. Stop listening to the uninformed evil interests that tell you I can't win. For more information, visit McCauleyformayor.com. Have the courage to vote your conscience. Vote for the name you trust and know. Vote McCauley for mayor.
Oh yeah. All right, my friends. That's
Love jazz.
Ran down the clock. This is Jay Hogarth's newest album, his newest project. This is just phenomenal. It's phenomenal. All right, we'll be up in here watching Jay.
Yeah, I'm watching him. I'm watching him close.
Oh yeah. All right.
Well, Stan, we had a great show today, man, and I want to thank Brother Cornell for coming in and sharing so many golden diamond nuggets, man. So much knowledge, and I want to remind folks that what Cornell did down on Barber Street in Unity Plaza, is he gave that family down there hope. Mm-hmm. Okay, and we're gonna make it happen. I'm not a gun owner, but I'll be down there to support.
And
okay?
I'd like to thank you, brother, because you've always had my back covered, and I've always loved you for that. And I just want to thank you and Stan for inviting me here. And we know that the naysayers and the obstructionists will be out there trying to subvert this on September 2nd. But as one man wrote in a poem, once when we achieved and the new age dawned, the old men came out again and took our victory to remake in the likeness of the world that they once knew. And that's what they're trying to do September 2nd. They wanted to go back to where they feel comfortable and take our victory once we achieved what we needed to at the cost of blood, sacrifice, and toil. And the old men came out again and took our victory. So we're going to be out there September 2nd, and no matter what happens out there, which I don't think anything will, because the community said they're not going to let it happen. I feel sorry for them people who come out there with that foolishness, because they might get embarrassed by the community. But we're going to be out there and we're going to do what we need to do to make sure that the people have hope.
And once again, brother, thank you for everything that you do, man. And a big shout out to my brother Eugenio Garo and to our sister Gloria Herena, who passed. Thank you for all the work that you've done. And to other magnificent ancestors in our community that have shed blood, sweat, and tears, man, so we can be here doing this show. We stand humble and grateful for everything that you've done. Peace, family.
All right, my friends, our time together has come to an end. We will see you next time. Special thanks to you, Brother Cornell, for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll see you all later. Go and have yourself a great rest of the day. Ciao.